City of Stevens Point Downtown Business Improvement District Special Meeting, recorded October 5th, 2023.
I'll take the roll quickly. Then we're without Tara Vansky today. Mike Beacom is excused. Hannah Cutler
Here.
Brian Cummins
Here.
Rosalind Kelleher
Here.
Alderperson Christensen.
Here.
We do have a quorum. I was informed by Director Karnowski that in the advent or the situation where we are without a chair, we do need to appoint a temporary chair. And with Gina Chepotowski being out, formally out of her place of employment, no longer on the Business Improvement District Board of Directors. One question before we move forward, Director Karnowski, do we appoint this temporary chairperson to serve as chair for the remainder of the year?
It's up to you. You can do it per meeting. You can do it as a essentially permanent appointment. It's just up there as temporary. So I would recommend that you appoint it temporary for this meeting. And if you want to do a permanent, we can definitely agenda it correctly next time.
Yes. So I would accept nominations for a temporary chairperson to chair this meeting.
Does that not me? Does that person have to be here?
Yeah. Yes. That person needs to be here.
Right.
I was gonna put it on Mike too.
This is just for today.
for today.
This is
Just for today. Oh.
As a point of order, who is our vice chair?
Great question. So within the bylaws of the Business Improvement District, there is no vice chair position. That is one recommendation that we are expecting to come forward as we revise the operating plan and bylaws for this body.
Gotcha.
Scary because you and I think too much like that every day.
So I'm still accepting nominations for temporary chair for today's meeting.
You can also nominate yourself. Sure. Oh, you shot
You
lady.
didn't. Could you redo?
Oh, you win.
Oh.
Yeah, so congratulations. Is that a nomination?
Sure, yes. I didn't nominate myself.
Hannah Cutler nominates herself
And
for
I'll
chair.
second that.
And Mark Christensen seconds the nomination for
I've
chair.
asked 3 times. Are there any other nominations?
Are there any more nominations? Any more nominations for chair today's meeting? And lastly, are there any more nominations for chair for today's meeting? Seeing as you were running unopposed, Hannah Cutler, you are now our chairperson for today's meeting. You have the floor. It is your meeting. I'll just defer you to this agenda.
I would like to default to you, please, for this meeting.
All right.
Could we have nominated Chris?
No.
Okay.
No, he's not officially a member of the committee.
I can help. Okay. Where are we?
Comments from the public?
All right.
We do have one person meeting online. Emma Kroll, do you have any comments that you'd like to share with the Business Improvement District Board of Directors?
No, I would just like to say that I'm observing a group meeting for class.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
What class?
It's called group social work.
This group definitely needs social work.
All right. All right. All jokes aside, moving onward. Thank you so much Emma, for joining us.
All right. Rolling on to number 4, work group and committee reports. The MOU work group report, special project, which is the 3 of us.
The 3 of us and Tara was also on.
No, you're not on.
So we had a really fantastic meeting the other week between Bob Willis, the current treasurer of the Stevens Point Alliance, Nikki Kaiser, who's the president of the Stevens Point Alliance, Mark Christensen, myself, to discuss the Community Foundation Special Projects Fund and us leveraging the tool. We also have some other updates about the Special Projects Fund that I'll share shortly, but within that meeting, we evaluated the I guess the table of contents, the fundraising event approval form, what we need to know about our fundraising events, the policies and procedures of the pass-through fund. It should be in your packet somewhere. And the group had a few questions, namely, on statement 15 on the policies, procedures, and fees, that tax receipts will not be issued for business sponsorships or ad sales. So we did send out a question over to Marley Samuels, who's staffer over at Community Foundation. I believe I have a response in my inbox. It's not opened yet, but we'll verify some of those questions. But moving forward, the Stevens Point Alliance does also see benefit in establishing the special projects fund for downtown Stevens Point. And I think I included in your packets a somewhat filled out application form. And a few explanations on why it's filled out the way that it is. If both organizations have access to that fund, kind of do expect that fund, the responsible parties or fund representatives, excuse me, would be the downtown director that would be coming into, I guess, your realm, as well as the treasurer of this organization and the treasurer of the Stevens Point Alliance. So that way all organizations are kept informed about what contributions are being made to the fund. That way, you know, who's contributing money in and who's pulling money out for what. And when you have those other fund representatives, you have to get approval before withdrawals are made. So that being said, I don't think there's any hesitancy from the Stevens Point Alliance moving forward with establishing one and getting them set up. They're kind of waiting on us to pull the trigger and open it.
I think the other one too, I think it's good to note that they said they would waive their annual fee for the first year because it's so close to the end of the year. Because that was one of our questions, whether or not we want to wait until January because we don't have, and they said because we're so close to the. So that was, I think, very nice to hear.
Anna, you have some questions?
I was just wondering where I was just wondering what this part, the policy, pass-through funds.
Yeah, I was also.
So the policies,
We had that on
procedures
our other-
are not in this packet. They were in a
In our
previous
other-
packet.
Yeah.
So again, statement 15 on the policies, procedures, and fees. The tax receipts will not be issued for business sponsorships or ad sales. Sponsors have the option to claim these as business expense. Fund rep is responsible for acknowledging sponsorships. The sponsorship log must be submitted to the Community Foundation of Central Wisconsin with sponsorship deposits. So we have an outstanding question to the Community Foundation about that. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask, but we did reach out to Marley to inquire whether or not the annual fee would be waived if we opened this late in the calendar year, and they said yes. Waive the annual fee. So.
Okay. Any questions regarding that?
The next step is get the answer on the outstanding question, and then we take action. We aren't taking action today.
Correct. No action today, but there's that update. Once
Great.
we have that follow-up information, we can present that at our next meeting, and I would hope that we have a motion on the floor for establishing the funds.
Absolutely.
All right, next item of business, lightning.
Lighting for downtown Stevens Point. Included in your packets was updated quote that we received through the public Works department about lighting of trees, including some additional strings of lights for either access for larger trees or replacements of current out lights. There's an estimate, I think it's in the mid 7,000s.
7,996.
$8,000.
Yeah.
For going through and paying for all the lighting. So I did propose to Director Badoon what a multi-year plan to install those would be, and whether or not we can put that outside of the business improvement district budget, because there is a decorations budget for the city. And he has not gotten back to me on that, but I expect at our next meeting, if you wanted to take action on supporting the city of Stevens Point and putting in tree lighting, then we could probably take action for it.
We have two different quotes, one for 375 and one for 400.
The one for 370, so it would take what they estimate, what our public works department estimates is 375 to outfit all of the trees that we put in that tree planting and lighting plan. The extra 25 sets would be for replacing broken string lights or for extra lighting in some of the trees that are larger. That
Right.
might benefit from a few extra strings of lights.
And even if we don't use them all immediately, they'll be available to replace those if they do. Yeah, and so, you know, you'll be replacing like for like, and that will be good.
And these are just for trees. We're just putting them on the trees, that's right? That was the original.
Do something to add?
No.
And we did, we did have that plan, we shared that plan in an earlier meeting showing the areas that would receive additional lighting and I think would make a major impact. So looking forward to an action item at our next meeting for that.
Next, annual town meeting. Who was on the committee to attend that?
I was,
And Mike Beacon. also.
and Tara.
So I wonder who's going to present.
So we met and we kind of made a plan. And I wish I brought my notebook.
I think I can help out with some of that. So I think I got a little bit of an update.
I'm just trying to remember. I forgot it. I'm sorry. We just wanted to update people on what we were doing in our progress. If you want to remind me, because you have an update, then I can remember more and tell you more.
So, given Mike Beacon's absence, he gave me a phone call just to ask for a few details and help with solidifying some of the details. So one of which was the date would be
yes.
October 30th.
We wanted to do, is it a Tuesday night? October 30th? Yes. 6 to 8. And we talked about Mid-State.
The community engagement room at Midstate College, downtown Stevens Point campus.
Has Midstate been contacted yet to see if that date's available?
Chris was, or he, not Chris, Mike did do that.
Okay.
Yeah, the formal reservation of the room has not yet happened. I can do that after this
He
meeting.
only had certain dates open that we could do it, so.
Okay. Excellent.
So the only other detail on that, we'll look to you all for, navigation of how that meeting is going to flow, but the
October
only
30th is a
other,
Monday.
It's Monday.
Yeah. Halloween is Tuesday.
so it'll be on the 30th, 6 to 8.
Okay.
I don't remember what day of the week it was, but it's 30th.
I don't either. I thought it was Tuesday. But
So, a special invitation will go out to all of the business owners probably. Emailed out. And emailed out through the contact sheet. Thank you all for.
Okay.
Anything else to add, Roslyn?
I will have more next time.
Will there be an item on the next agenda to determine items to be included in the presentation at town hall? Or is there going to be a presentation
We
or
had-
just a meet and greet or
We
what?
had a plan for that, so I'll bring that next time.
Perfect.
Because we did talk about what we were gonna say.
So we need to put that on the agenda for next meeting.
Yeah, so I suppose I would request from you all. The chair might request from you all. Your formal agenda for the town hall next meeting.
That will require the same notice as a normal committee meeting, correct?
Yes, because the quorum we'll have to at
Will be
least,
present.
but no action will be taken, but
Yeah.
it does have to be publicly noticed.
Great.
Or I could email you guys. Can I do that? No?
You can email the full board, but you BCC everybody. So that way there's no back and forth communication as a group.
I can email you.
Just an informative item.
All right, any questions about that? Moving on, operating plan review.
So this is on page 9 of your packets.
This is on page 9 of your packets.
Director Fernowski, would you like to?
Sure, I'm more than happy to. So annually, we talked a little bit about this. Every bid in the state of Wisconsin for state statutes has to have an operating plan. And it has to mark the year of operation, the date of drafting, and then eventually the date of approval. So that's essentially what you have in here. It's not nearly as fancy as the plan that we had last year because this is just a legal document essentially at this point. Goes through the introduction, state statutes, which are required to be included as part of this. We talked a little bit about the district boundaries, which have not changed. Now, if they do change down the road, we'll have to have a note in here annually saying that in 2000XX, the boundary was added or subtracted. And then we have to go over the previous year operating plan goals. And so that was essentially taken from the initial operating plan. We accomplished a number of these, like recertifying the city's downtown as a Main Street community, continuing to encourage investment through the facade improvement program, various placemaking activities. I think this board is starting to really gear up with. So the 23 operating plan goals are in there. Probably the biggest one that we should spend a little bit of time on is the proposed operating plan and the goals for 2024. I did forget to add the vice chair amendment to the bylaws, so I will add that as part of this. This is just a draft copy, but goal for 2024 would be to hire and onboard the Main Street manager position. There's a brief description about that. Continue support of downtown with the MOU, and so it's that memorandum of understanding, which is another policy document that is close to being done or is done.
We'll formally sign that with the Stevens Point Alliance moving into 2024.
Perfect. There's a desire to establish a public space enhancement program. This would be something like through public placemaking, and as our first year of actually collecting essentially the assessment of property tax, there is some money there to provide that, and we'll go over the budget shortly. Establish a vacant storefront reinvestment program similar to the Badger Bounce Back program that was offered through COVID-19. We think this would be a really significant benefit for downtown. We do have some vacancies that we've had some struggle filling in the downtown for some reason. And so part of this would be to provide some cash incentive for capital investment for those specific spaces. Of course, all of these programs would have to be reviewed and approved by this body. Maintain the Main Street community designation was one of them as well. As we continue forward and wanting to continue to be a Main Street community, there's going to be some annual reporting requirements, and this is just a general goal that we have. So with that, if anyone has any other proposed goals for 2024, I think these are really good for the next year. Maybe ensuring, the only other one I could really think of is, have an annual town hall meeting in 2024 as a goal. It's not necessary within this document, but might be nice to have in case there's questions about that. And then once we're through that, I'll keep going through the document.
We're pretty mindful about recommending some of the goals in this. They do align with the annual work plan and memorandum of understanding. Some of the goals outlined in that document were ensuring that our vacancy rate continues to decline in the downtown, ensuring that we're investing in high quality public spaces, ensuring that our events are high caliber.
One question I noticed in the plan too is we are required to have a public hearing. Have we scheduled that yet?
We have a tentative scheduled date of October or November 7th for the public hearing, and that public hearings in front of this body.
Okay.
And so the statutory requirement is that we publish it class 2 notice, which is twice in the local paper of record, and then we will send through USPS a mailer to every property owner within the city, even those that are not subject to the assessment. So
okay, thank you.
We hope to have that mailer out and include a separate letter at the annual town hall invitation too. Save on postage.
Perfect. Which makes total sense.
Okay, I can continue going forward. Proposed expenditures and method of assessment. This is the kind of the nitty-gritty detail. The proposed annual budget here does need to be updated. Originally, when I drafted this, it was right around $86,500. That's of course gone up since this was drafted. I just need to update that. The amount levied by the bid is slightly up as well. It's about $53,174.28. That is based on the 60 cents per thousand assessments. 35,000 is additional income provided from the city of Stevens Point through that annual subsidy through 2027. And then there was, as part of our budget, the 70,000 that the city provided in 2023, 30,000 of that will be carried over additionally for 2024. The remaining 40,000 is actually going to go into the bid savings account, more or less, so that there is a rainy day fund or any other fund that we could try to, or if we have a project that's a little bit more expensive, we could dip into that fund if needed. So you'll see it in there, and there's some legalese on dates of publication. Obviously, now that we know that it's November 7th, this is the public hearing, I'll be able to enter the dates that this was actually provided as part of the public notice within this. And as I mentioned, the budget income is 60 cents per thousand. Again, that number just seems to be slightly updated to represent the 53,000. I did highlight in the operating plan that property that's used exclusively for residential purposes will not be assessed. That was one thing that when we had sent out the letters about a year ago, there was a lot of confusion from residential property owners, even though it clearly stated on that letter that there's no assessment for purely residential properties. So just more legalese, more or less, in this. One of the requirements of the bid law itself is that it's promotion of the orderly development of the city, and then it outlines the city's role in the district operation. It's nothing really fancy there. The operating plan approval process just outlines, what is required of us. And then future year operating plans, just again, with more legalese, talking about early termination of the district, what the standard is there. And then you might not know this, but after 30 years, the bid has to re-up itself. And so on the 30th year of operation, you have to include language in there that you actually will send out essentially a mailer asking people to vote in favor of keeping the bid going or suspending its operation. Obviously, we're a number of years away from that, so that's not a huge concern. Appendix A is the bid state statute. In pretty much every document that I referred to, had this as the first appendix. Appendix B is our bylaws as they currently exist, just for more information. Appendix C is page 25. That's the business improvement district map for our visual learners. And then Appendix D, that's the actual list of properties in the downtown bid that are subject to the bid assessment. It has the parcel number, the address, the property owner, the 2023 assessment, that's the revalid assessment, and then the bid levy total or their liability. That is the total dollar amount that will be levied on each property. So if you have any questions, we do have to specifically call out for each one what it is and what we're levying as part of that. So let's take a moment, look through that. All in all, it's I think for the most part pretty reasonable dollar amount. A few $100s. Appendix E, which is on page 41, that calls out the list of properties on the bid that are not subject to the assessment. If it's in purple, it's considered residential. If it's in the more salmon color, it's a property or tax exempt property. So that it's included within the bid, but not subject to the assessment. And then the last page, which would be page 46 of the agenda packet, is the actual budget itself. And Chris will go into this a little bit, but I'll just go through this shortly. As mentioned earlier, the bid assessment will provide $52,174.28 to the bid. The City of Stevens Point subsidy of $35,000 for 2024, and then a carryover of $30,000 into 2024. I think it's really important for us to remember that, you know, we don't want to carry over we won't be able to carry over any additional funds in 2025. So we are going to have to expect that the bid assessment will increase for 2025 in order to maintain the budget that is proposed here.
One question about that, Ryan,
Yeah.
not to interrupt. But we had talked in the last meeting that when the money is allocated, that's in our account. The carryover from prior year, what is that exactly?
So the city council in 2023
Mhm,
allocated 70,000.
correct.
We actually haven't dipped into any of that money.
Yeah.
And so the intention is that 70,000, 30,000 of that will actually essentially be another city subsidy. And that the remaining 40,000 will go into the savings account
The savings account for the bid.
for the bid. Yep.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay. So P&L budget versus balance sheet.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Expenses, downtown manager salary of 50,000. Again, Chris will get into that later. We are 100% responsible for that position now. We budgeted a family plan essentially for the employee healthcare plan. If this is a single person or if they don't want to take the city's healthcare, that frees up a fair amount of money. Employee life insurance, these are all benefits offered by the city of Stevens Point because they will be a full city employee. Wisconsin retirement contribution, that's on top of, essentially it's a match that we have here at the city into the state retirement system. Workers' compensation, social security costs. We had included office leasing here at one point, and after conversation with the CVB, they are going to offer at no cost an office space at their facility, so that's saving us some money. Software programs, the acquisition of a computer, so that's a one-time expense. Cell phone costs, that's an annual cost that'll come back. Excluded internet and utility costs because it is a free office space at the CVB. And then office supplies, it's kind of a miscellaneous, business cards, things of that nature. We also did budget $1,200 for conferences. That would include travel, hotel, actual registration, meal reimbursements, membership dues for any professional memberships that the bid would be part of for the individual, miscellaneous expenses, miscellaneous things. And then the public space enhancement program that we had discussed, staff initially allocated 10,000 towards that, $2,500 towards marketing, which would be in partnership with the Stevens Point Alliance, and then $6,000 towards the vacant business grant. The last item would be a transfer to the bid savings that in the event we fall exactly where our budget is, about 10,000 would then get allocated to the bid savings account, which would bring it for 2024, hopefully right around $50,000. Your total expenses, 118,174.28 matches your revenue. So we feel pretty confident in this budget, but if there's anything you folks would like to see changed, speak now, please, because we want to get this through the process.
You have any questions regarding this?
I think this is a pretty good first kick at the cat. I like having that 10,000 transfer because that can kind of function as a contingency too, just in case something major comes up. It gives us some flexibility to be able to do those things. So that combined with the fact that we possibly, depending on the individual hired, could experience some savings in the insurance, I think puts us in a pretty solid position financially.
Yeah, the only thing that stands out to me as potentially being low is the marketing expense. If we intend to do the branding that we had previously talked about, I think 2,500 is probably on the low end of that.
Okay.
Again, with Mark, that's
Right.
10,000
We have some
slop, we get
flexibility. Yeah.
some flexibility there.
And that can be allocated anywhere at that point.
Correct.
This is a proposed budget, but it's
No.
not written in stone too.
Right.
So this is, yeah.
Right.
And we're not losing our 70,000 from this year.
No, that's.
So that's just,
We'll look-
Yeah.
yep.
okay.
40 to the savings account and 30 carried over into the budget.
Yeah, it's line item budgeting, so it's borderline made up, right? I mean, it all comes out of one pot, so.
Yeah,
Given the goals, that's why we kind of recommended some of the budgetary items and costs of public space enhancements can be exorbitant, as you've seen already with the idea of investing in public restrooms. That is a huge expense.
Right.
But vacant business grant, you can feel free to come and talk to me about some of the ideas of programmatic tools that we can use to fill vacant spaces, but that's a pretty significant chunk of change to go towards assisting someone with a very detailed business plan moving into a space.
Is this an action item?
Nope, this is more discussion, so the quote unquote actionable item will be after the public hearing in November, so.
Excellent.
It's a very dry document, so if you really need to go to bed one night, just can't fall asleep.
I can't wait. I'm just gonna really. dive
Yeah,
into
it's
it.
riveting.
I think the one thing that we are cognizant of is just the changes to the bylaws that we need to make for our personnel. that
Yep.
we're all aware of, so.
Mhm. All right. Moving on.
Yes, Madam Chair, moving on. So on page 49 of your agenda packets, I did include a memo as an update of the downtown director position on the relationship with the Stevens Point Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. Their executive finance committee prepared a sample budget of what their organization would look like in the next fiscal year if they were to help subsidize the cost of the downtown director. And it doesn't seem like it would be not just feasible, but it would be borderline unhealthy for them to support the director position in their current state. So we're not gonna, we really value the work of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. They do a fantastic amount of work for our economy, and we don't want to put them in a threatening space. So staff are recommending that we pivot with the downtown director role and move to a 32-hour-a-week role to still meet the needs of the program that we are signed into, the Main Street program, but also provide for a role that is responsible to that individual, that does provide them with enough finances to be a valuable member of our community, and to feel valued as well. So we're aiming for a salary and benefits package that is fair. So included in that is a changed position description, removing a lot of the Convention and Visitor Bureau responsibilities. And we're recommending that you all move forward with hiring a downtown director free and clear of the CDB. However, the CDB does want to be good partners to the Downtown Business Improvement District. They're really excited about the positive impact that this person will give to our community. And so they have offered up their office space as a location, which is phenomenal because that allows that new staffer access to a lot of mentoring through their staff.
And physical location and the ability to collaborate. So absolutely wonderful.
So, yeah, we're excited to continue to have them as
Not
partners.
that this
but-
isn't a great place.
You and I have a different opinion.
and the only thing that I think we'll need to make sure we keep account of is the fair market value for that space, and make sure that gets put into our Main Street program report as the
Part of the contribution.
Yeah.
towards-
in-kind
Yeah,
contribution.
absolutely.
Good point. Thank you,
Good work.
Director Cummins. So,
Director.
Board of Directors.
I know.
Yeah. Look at me being all.
We're all directors.
Really diminishes my title. I'm just kidding.
Plate, maybe.
Sorry, we'll back up.
Sorry.
Reining it back in. So I included in the end of that memo also what we would expect the hiring timeline to be. If we were to have action today to approve the position description and have us start the hiring process. We keep that application window open for 2 to 3 weeks, go into scheduling interviews. schedule first interviews, review those candidates, schedule second interviews. Since that staff person would be in direct contact and working with some of the CDB staff, I do think it would be advantageous to at least include Sarah as a part of the second interview squad, just to meet the candidates. And then move forward with hiring that new downtown director by the end of the year.
We need to make a motion to approve this.
Yeah, we
Right? And that's what we're doing?
yeah, looking at a motion to approve the position description and move forward with hiring.
I guess I just have one comment. I would think it'd be nice actually for the second interviews for the entire
Board,
board to be able to,
at least meet them.
yeah.
Mm.
Not just additionally Sarah, but I think it'd be advantageous before, so it's not just two people having exposure to a person that's going to be in charge of everything that we're gonna be doing. I think the entire board should be, it's not that large of a group.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, it's possible, yeah. We just, the big thing with that is just being cognizant of privacy. And so we would do a closed session meeting.
Right.
An
Yes.
interview, so.
Yep.
Have notice, but that it's
Yep.
closed section for personnel.
Okay.
So it's all doable.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mark.
Mhm. We can still, agree with this as long as we, with
With that, yeah.
that amendment.
Yeah.
So I would move approval of this process with the one amendment to have the entire bid board involved as part of the second interview.
A second.
Okay, motion carried.
No,
No,
we gotta have
yeah,
several.
vote.
Got a vote.
Can we
Oh,
read
Discussion.
this before we vote or not?
Like to read it. I mean,
I'd like to read
you
it.
can default for discussion
Right, right.
after
Not too long.
motion in a second, so.
Well, I would see this as a separate motion. My motion is only on the interview process, not on the position.
Would you like to amend your motion to approve the position description?
I would do it separately, but
Or under seven? Alright, so it's just on the hiring process, that's the current motion.
Yeah. So that's just the one page, just that. There's
Maybe the third and fourth paragraphs.
Andy, you want to call for the vote on just the hiring process? Just one page, page 49.
Just the, yeah,
Yeah.
49.
Yeah.
We have a vote.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
No, yeah.
Discussion.
No,
Abstention.
I haven't said anything yet because I want to finish reading. So what is our process? What is?
So
the
we're just talking about this one. Have you,
I know, but
This is
what
what
will
you're on
our
right now.
hiring- What will our hiring process look like?
So city staff will post the position. That position applications will be open for 2 to 3 weeks. Then we will schedule interviews. Give about a week for interviews.
And who's gonna be
Evaluate.
sitting in on the interviews?
The first interviews
This is right
listed
there.
as the secretary and chair. Since we don't have a chair, we would appoint someone in that space. And then city
I
staff.
suppose we have another meeting prior to that, so we'll have a chair by that.
It'll be open for 3 weeks, so we'll have another meeting.
That's what I'm saying, so yes,
So we'll include it.
we'll include the chair.
Mhm.
Okay, so the second interview, you're,
My amendment is that for the second interview, the
For all
entire
of us.
bid board in addition to
Which I
Sarah
agree.
Brish.
okay. Then after that, we just move on.
Offer the position up before the end of 2023.
I agree. Sorry.
All good.
Sorry, so where were we?
So we have unanimous approval.
All right.
Motion carries.
Curious. We need to do another one.
Now the description, yeah.
We have a motion to accept the Interview.
So the workplace location is not TBD, it's CBB.
So it was to be determined because we don't have a formal agreement with the
Okay.
CBB on that location yet, but we would anticipate signing memorandum of understanding with them about the space.
Well, and maybe for the description that's gonna be published, we have workplace location downtown Stevens Point. And would we accept anyone that is remote? Because I think you need to call that out specifically in current descriptions.
Sure. I think that's for discussion of this body.
So just real quick, the city has a remote policy.
Okay,
So we expect these positions to be in person with the option for remote work as approved by supervisor. So my philosophy is if you need to spend a day at home working to get out of the office, it's totally fine, but
Totally.
it's not a 20 to 25 hour week work remote thing.
yeah,
So somebody down in Madison would be able to, I mean, they need to be here.
yeah, I feel strongly about that, not that
Mhm.
I'm opposed to
Mhm.
remote work, but
But for that to be the exception and not the rule.
exactly.
Face to face is going to be important in this.
And I'm assuming that the supervisor of this person is this body.
It's in
Or is
the
that-
hierarchy of city government, you have to have a supervisor, one person, and then they can also report to the
Got it.
body. So like, I report to the mayor, I also report to the city council.
Oh, sure, got it. Okay,
So it might be a modification to the primary reports to be Director Karnowski and who was up for the district board, not chair.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Mhm. And since we're going with 32 hours per week, are they working 4 days a week, Monday through Friday? How are we, is
That's flexible.
7:30 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday with weekends?
Intended to be
Evenings?
flexible just because. of
Okay, it's
weekend work.
flexible,
Mhm.
okay. So it's not a set, that's not the set schedule, okay.
And a lot of the policies that we're dealing with are already in the city's administrative policy handbook. So you can, if you have any additional questions on it, I can definitely refer you to the right section.
and not to get hung up on verbiage, but when I would read this and I would read primary reports, I would think, oh, Ryan Karnowski, Director of Community Development, is reporting to me.
That's a good point.
And should.
Well,
To be fair.
Saying, somebody's got to guide him.
did I just announce I'm running against Weezer? This is being recorded and that is not a fact.
No, reports two is probably the more appropriate verbiage.
Simple edits that can be made. Yes, I am documenting them.
Thank you.
So coordinating annual work plan, is the Visitors Bureau still a part of that?
They are still engaged in the annual work plan as a partner that executes work in the benefit of Stevens Point and downtown Stevens Point. They are a tool essentially that the downtown director should be leveraging.
Resource.
Yeah,
Just not how.
I'm a little tired. Yeah, thank you. A resource for them to benefit the work of downtown Stevens Point.
Ryan's the only tool.
Anything else?
I think it looks good. Minor things, but yeah.
Make a motion.
Yeah.
Approve this. Amendments?
Just the one, I guess, maybe I missed it. But I think it's under essential duties and responsibilities. I think social media management probably is something, I know we have writing editorial copy for print and web-based use, but that's kind of a different role than social media promotion. Or is that not what we would expect?
Are they working-
Be careful in writing in social media responsibilities for this person's role, given that the Stevens Point Alliance hires a marketing professional that leverages
I was not
social
aware.
media.
Got it. Okay.
So
But this person would be working with.
with them,
Mhm.
so we can write in,
How about content generation?
or at least advising that
Okay.
marketing manager on content that they might have access to.
It's kind of exciting, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's kind of what we've been working towards. It's like,
We're all gonna do a dance on this special side.
And I know it probably goes without saying, but under physical demands, do we need to put reasonable accommodations will be entertained? I know that's employment law type stuff.
Yeah, we can add that.
The physical demands.
I
Yeah.
can stand it.
Listen, Christensen, you're not gonna triple dip.
Right.
It's a good God. This is the physical demand. It's the other stuff that I'm not gonna do.
You can stand for an extended period of time during events.
I'm much better at
Hands are
standing.
sitting. Okay. All right. Any motion?
I'll move to approve the position description with the changes that we've discussed.
I'll second that.
Right? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Well, aye. Very
Unanimously approved.
unanimously. Okay,
Now we can either have a.
Are we exhausted?
Yep. You can just say.
I think we're exhausted.
It's exhausted.
Agenda is exhausted. Here.
Adjourned.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.